Welcome back to the Ben and Rush YouTube channel. The OBS is back, part 2. All right, so made a little progress off camera. I didn't do anything crazy without you. I just I wanted to see if these headers were gonna fit. And you're like, what headers, Brian? But if you were listening in the first video, we got some Speed Engineering OBS swap headers. And honestly, guys, they fit really well. I would definitely suggest them if your motor's all the way to the back. Now, our super sliders, as you saw in the first video, they were, you know, the motor's kind of that way. But check this out. Look how great those headers fit. I mean, you could easily stick a finger or two between there and the frame. And they clear the tranny lines. How awesome is that? I did hang the plug wires and stuff, and I did put the water pump on, but that's basic stuff. I did want to save the meat and potatoes and the important stuff for you guys, but I got a little eager, I know. As well as this side. The driver's side fits well. It is close to the frame, and I did shove the motor over just a skosh to the passenger side, just to give me more frame clearance. Now granted, you could probably slide a nickel between the pipe and the frame, but that's about it. It may need the old heat and beat action, but as of now, we're gonna leave it and see what happens once the motor mounts kind of settle and we start doing crazy stuff. Radiator's back in. Looks good, fit in there. There is one thing that I want to mention real quick. When I did the last OBS truck, which would have been it would have been originally, it had a 350, but it was originally a 305 truck. It had the smaller 28-inch radiator, okay? This is the larger 34, I think is what it is. It did change the variable a little bit. So on the other truck, we had the lower radiator hose from the truck. It worked great. It just fit. It's perfect. This truck, we had to get a swivel water outlet. Now, I did have to cut off about this much off the hose, and with the swivel water outlet, and I'll drop a link into that, that's a Mr. Gasket, and it worked out really well. It basically just pointed it down versus straight off to the right. You know how the LS is kind of go, where the small block Chevy goes, you know what I'm saying? So, a little tweakage worked out good. I did have that laying around. We had that from the old S10er, so Brent gets to utilize that now. But we're down to the stuff that's going to make this thing go vroom. All right. So I got to get the power steering bracket on. We're going to go ahead and get the intake, but the intake is going to be last. I will tell you that because I have to fish. If you remember that wiring harness I plucked her out, I got to fish it over the tranny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and assemble all this stuff up here just to put it in my way, of course, because that's just makes sense to me. It's more exciting bolting stuff on than wiring stuff. You guys know what I'm saying? Oil pressure sensor. So I did learn something. We're going to utilize this, but there is another oil pressure sensor you can use. And we're going to go over that in just a second. I used an ICT billet adapter to 1/4-inch national pipe thread, and I utilized the OEM sensor. Now, the OEM sensor on this particular truck is a 1-pin, right? Only one of them is required for the gauge to work. If you have a 3-pin, the other two aren't necessary. Then go to the computer, but your computer don't need it on the LS computer. But here is, look at this guy. You're like, where the hell did that come from? Well, if you remember the square body we talked about the other day, that showed up too. And maybe I'll drop a little sneak peek of that. But this is an LS oil pressure sensor that's a 1-pin. So if you order one for a 99 2000 LS truck, we probably could have did that, but at the time, I was unsure. Me and Brent were trying to decide what we were going to do. So 100% going to work. If he ever needs to replace it, he just orders it for this truck, just like the lower hose. So we're trying to keep that stuff logical. Remember, we've talked about resourcefulness. Think when you're out somewhere and you're stranded, right? Your lower hose blew out, right? Or your whatever. You know, if you can get the stuff, it makes it nice, right? You're not doing anything custom or it's crazy. You ask about the steam port. You've seen that. So he bought just a eBay performance steam line. Unfortunately, when Brent got all the stuff for this truck, he got a brand new engine, something I had laying around, and it had no accessories. So he had to buy a cam sensor, crank sensor, water pump. He had to buy every piece, guys. It is the most expensive way to go. It sucks, but he knew what he was getting into. And Brent, I know you're watching, buddy. We still love you. It'll be okay. But if you're going to be on the more budget-oriented side, go to the yard and get something with all those components in it. It'll save you tremendously on the big end, unless you want all new, which is awesome, which is what he chose. So in your case, it's up to you and your budget. But steam port, I ran the heater hoses. Now you're asking, Brian, where are you going to run it? Normally you kind of tee it into the heater hose. So I'm going to do something different. This guy here, this radiator, if you see, has a 5/8 hose nipple because a lot of these trucks ran the heater hose from here to there. But mine has this plug in there, and that's a pipe thread. So I'm going to thread in a pipe nipple and run the steam port up the hose to here. Again, you're asking about the hose tee. If you've watched previous videos, you know what I'm talking about. This is something we do all the time. That's why I have it already in preparedness for it. This is a 4 Seasons part number. This is a 5/8 to 5/8 to quarter. We've done that on a lot of applications just to run the steam port to a heater hose. Now, guys will say right or wrong, or you may say right or wrong. Do as you wish. I won't have that debate with you, I promise. But in this case, we're going to run it up here. Okay, next thing. The air intake. We don't have that yet, but we found out that if you order a Hummer H2 air intake for a Hummer H2 for an LS, it is going to put the air intake back here. Now that is in the mail. If we get it before I wrap up this video, I will have it in there, but you may see it without it. Okay, well, that may or may not happen, but eventually you'll see it, I promise. That allows us to keep the battery over here. So the initial debate was we were going to put the battery on the driver's side and use all the LS battery cables, which we've done that. It works great, okay? The OBS truck with the 8.1, my big block short box truck, has it on the driver's side. Airbox is over here. But the way Brent went about ordering things, which is better for us, is we're going to be able to keep the factory battery cables, okay? The alternator's over here, so our alternator cable is just going to reach. Here it is right here. It's just going to reach. Everything's going to work there. The AC is in the right spot, and we're not trying to fight an air box around over there because there's no freaking room, guys. I don't know. But you're probably sick of me talking because it's been a little while now. So let's get to the live action. Okay, we got our power steering bracket. Again, this is a new one as well, new power steering pump and everything. But I wanted to show you that power steering line. Here is a Sunsong number 340-1042. So what that is, guys, is a 96 half-ton truck power steering line. The benefit of that for us, again, we have a vacuum brake boosted 3/4 ton, is it just works. We don't have the electronic variable steering anymore. This just threads in the back like factory, and then it just goes right in. So that's kind of the nice thing about these years. They all just work together. It's so awesome. It's almost like I said, you know, maybe GM should have did it from the factory. I'm just saying. So let me go ahead and get this thing mounted up. I like to put the power steering line on first, so then you're not screwing with it at the back of that. So get that thing tightened up, then you're only fighting with the one end. So I got that power steering line all snugged up. Let's see if we can get this thing started. Now putting this in the way of the intake will probably fight a little more, but it'll be all right. So here's that 96 line, and like we were talking, look at that. I mean, it drops right in like it's supposed to. The return, I did cut off the power steering cooler. You say, why the hell did you do that? Well, it was rusty. So I just put a little bump on the return side and got ourselves a couple feet of tranny cooler hose. It's gonna be just freaking fine. So you see how well that worked out. So now it's time to try to figure out that bracket to put the alternator over here, because we're putting the AC there. Now, we got the instructions. I don't know if we'll actually use them or not, but I went ahead and painted this the other day, so this thing is nice and fresh and black. So this guy goes up here across where the alternator is. Yeah, there's spacers so you don't crush it, obviously, but it's gonna sit like that, of some sort. And that AC bracket or compressor is gonna sit on top of that. So this will go on in a little bit. But I do want to try putting the alternator on right now because it's not going to be in the way of the intake. Remember, we're trying to get as much done as possible without having to interfere with that thing there, you know? So, let's try looking at this puzzle. Okay. Gotta love opening stuff one-handed. There we go. That's how it goes right there. 96 to 98, 5.7, steel AC LS bracket conversion. Ours at 2,000 though, guys. But a lot of people don't realize that in the heavy duty trucks, they drug this body style up to 2,000. I know you're saying they make 2,000 with 6 liters in them, they do. But the 3/4 ton trucks always carried a year over, okay? You'll run into that with a lot of that type of stuff. Go back to the square bodies, right? You could get a K5 Blazer up to 91 because it was, for whatever, I don't know that answer, okay? All right, just stop. But there is a reason that these carry over, and it's probably just to burn up some crap they got laying around, all right? So, it should be 96 to 2,000. And probably S10 Blazers. So let's get trying to configure. Guys, what a freaking puzzle. It did go on nice. It did. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't deal with these guys directly. Brent ordered it. For what it's worth, it's a very budget-oriented kit compared to some of the others. And you get to reuse a good, solid cast aluminum bracket. So that's kind of nice. You see what it does. It allows us to bolt that on there like we discussed. Alternator has its own mount. Puts it up back over here on the passenger side like it is factory. It did require you to buy a new tensioner. That's one of the things. It's not in the parts, in the collection of their parts, but that is something you have to buy. It does give you the correct part number for Gates in the description of their part. I may have to take this back off to get the intake on because it's, it kind of overhangs a little bit. But so the next step here is I'm gonna go ahead and get the fan on and stuff like that, get the rest of this buttoned up, and then we're gonna start swinging that stuff over. Now, if you've tagged along in previous OBS videos, I'm going to show you a little fan trick, and you're going to appreciate it. Let me go grab it quick, and I'll show you the differences and why it works so great. Okay, something I wanted to show you. I had a fellow subscriber quite a while back reach out about this idea, and it worked out really well. So, this versus this. Now, this is the 350 fan that came off, and it would screw back on the LS, okay? An LS fan is also the same depth, but the motors tend to sit back further the way they're designed, so cheap solution, Ford F-150 fan. I know you're saying, Ford, what the hell, man? What? 97 to 03 F-150. That unit has a longer extension on it versus this dude. So this will get it centered up in your fan shroud, and it's gonna work like factory. Just, that little oval in there, just take your little Dremel, you can grind it off, they'll never know the difference. It'll be fine. But I'll show you the difference here in a second. Let me get down in there and we will spin this unit on and see what I mean. Okay, so if I put this fan on, what you run into is it's beyond the fan shroud. You see that it's actually behind it, right? So there's no, yeah, it'll draw air, and yeah, it'll probably be fine if you're in a colder climate area, but the problem is it's not in the shroud actually drawing through. There's potential to draw around it. So the benefit of running the Ford fan is it sticks it out further into the shroud and works out nice. Now look at that, friends. It splits the shroud like it's supposed to so it can draw air out. It spins on, and honestly, it's honestly the easiest way to go about doing it. So just a little tech tip I wanted to throw in. Like I said, I had a fellow subscriber suggested a while back, and I checked into it, and it works great. 97 to 03 F-150. 5.4, 4.6, one of those trucks will have that. I don't know about the 4.2s, it may be different. I've also seen the later, 07 to 13 3/4 tons have a longer stem on them. Never tried it, probably works as well, but that's gonna be your cheapest option. The blade diameter is the same, plenty of clearance, and it works great. So, something to think about when you're doing your OBS. All right, let's see how this upper fits with our new fan. And there's plenty of other things I probably should be working on, but this is the satisfying stuff. It looks like you're getting something done. So here's full perspective for you. There's that upper shroud on. But yeah, definitely for the freaking win. Stock upper LS hose, check this out. It's almost like it's meant to be. Hook that dude there. And she's gonna hook right around to here. Look at that crap, guys. Now it is a little on the higher side. We just gotta make sure it's hood clearance. Remember, this is the wider radiator, so it does wanna move it over a little further. Worst case, you can actually, on a new water pump, I wouldn't necessarily try it on an old one, but you can heat these and clock them. Now granted, they probably have some sort of anaerobic sealer or slip fit sealant, but I've done it in the past. If you heat it up and turn it, use at your discretion, by the way. It does work, but people may say it won't. So this dude here, our steam port line, this is actually a brass piece under here. I threaded in a 1/4 inch NPT to 1/4 inch barb to generate this. You may or may not have that, like I said earlier. So it's just a steam port. It does have to go somewhere. You can tee it into your upper hose. You can put it there. You can tee it into your heater hose. That's on you. But as for the upper hose, we're using the factory upper for an LS, and she's gonna lay out sweet. So let me get that tightened up, and then we'll get to the wiring. You notice I'm pushing that off because I don't want to start on that yet. Yeah, that's what it is. Just a reminder, and every LS swap video you see me do, you're gonna get this disclaimer. Because the thermostat's in the lower hose, and we're not filling from a heater line like a factory truck, you should pre-fill your block. You need to. Yes, there's a little rattler in the thermostat to allow fluid passage, but it will take forever, okay? It'll work, but guys, expect to cook your motor before that thermostat opens, okay? Because there's not coolant in the block to warm up the thermostat to open to circulate. So, pre-fill through the upper hose area. All right, friends, we've talked about this wiring harness a handful of times. Well, it's time to put it in the truck. So, I know I mentioned it earlier. It's got an OEM fuse box, OEM pass-through. But what they did do is they did modify so LS stuff plugs right in as well. So how freaking awesome is that? Now it's just time to just throw this spider web. I can't even grab it all with one hand. There we go. See? And then if we just kind of like, hopefully it works out, right? Where we just kind of go, ah. It didn't work. I've done it before and it worked out really well, but let me start laying it out. So I laid out as much as I could. It's time to put the intake on, but I wanted to get, well, touch base on another thing here. Now, I've touched on this before in the past, if you get back into the other OBS swap videos, but SUR&R is a product line we use a lot, and they are a push connect style fitting that clamps onto your nylon line, right? So we tend to use them for short little jumper adapters. Now, you could use AN, you could, had a gentleman say that you can compression fitting another piece of line on there. Do as you wish. Now, our lines are in great condition. So basically, I'm taking these brass connectors that are meant to hook on the O-ring fitting, and we're crimping on nylon and just making a short jumper harness to kind of adapt to the existing fuel line. I can drop the part numbers in the description for you guys if you need them. At this point here, we're gonna go ahead and get the intake set on, finish plumbing the fuel lines, plugging everything in. Then we gotta go to the moon, all right? Because then we gotta plug in the tranny and the O2 sensors and the speed sensors and the, oh, you know, everything underneath. So let's get the intake on, and I'm gonna go ahead and then we can lay the AC out and stuff and just really get a whole picture here, guys. Time to get the old duct tape off. Now's the time not to drop a bolt in there, okay, folks? would not be good. Let's see how this fine unit fits on there. Now it's already fitted with some flex fuel injectors. We did have to use some injector spacers, but again, if you find the right intake, you don't have to deal with that either. Or if you're not running a big hog ass cam, you can definitely use what you got. Now that part's done, we can start plugging stuff in. Now these, ooh, that ain't good. Son of a biscuit. Not cool, friends. Well, I shouldn't have pulled on that end because that just ruined my damn day. This thing is really taut and I made a mistake. Shit. See guys, happens to the best of us. 2 broken connectors later on a brand new harness, thanks to yours truly. And damn things just pulled right off, but we fixed them. It's all right. But I did jump ahead a little bit, guys. I know you'd be disappointed in me, but I did lay out the AC and plug everything else in. Now, I know, it is what it is, but as for all the connectors, they just have a home, plug them in. So that's no big deal. It's pretty straightforward, and yours might be different. So, but that bracket, I wanted to show you, that's how cool that thing is. And yeah, it's kind of basic, but basic works sometimes. Look at that thing. The alternator's mounted up great. The AC compressor actually fits, and we didn't have to modify no AC lines. They all clear. The one thing I wanted to show you as well, the throttle cable. They just hook up. That's it. You just snap them into the LS bracket. The cruise control. I did have to adjust this a little bit. There is kind of an adjuster nut. Other than that, same token. It just works. So hoses are on, coolant's full. Now, we do have to go up in the air. We got to plug in all that stuff underneath. So we're going to get to doing that real quick. But your truck brake booster hose, same thing. Plugs right in from the LS truck. So, I mean, really, these guys are like twin sister cousins. I mean, they're meant to be together. You know what I mean? So it just makes sense. Now you see how them long tube headers fit under here. Oh man, yeah, see they look good from up top, and I did drop them from the top, but look at that. That one looks good. Tranny lines are pretty close. I'm gonna try to bend them out of our way, get them at least away from the header, but not bad at all, guys. I do see this one's close, like I was telling you. It's just touching as well. I'm gonna get a hold of Brent and see what he wants to do. We may have to heat and beat just that one a little bit. I don't want to go crazy, but it'd be nice to give her a little squish with some big channel locks. But you see, I got all our plugs down here. Now we get to finish that stuff up. Our neutral safety, no glue. 4-wheel drive wiring, and everything's labeled. How freaking cool is that? So definitely a good choice on purchase by all means. And then I did put O2 sensor extenders on it. May not be necessary. This one comes down pretty far. I don't know about this one here, but yeah, so there's our starter solenoid wire. But definitely something to think about if you guys are putting headers on it too. We got these from Michigan Motorsports, but they sell O2 sensor extensions. Like I know on the wife's Camaro with the LS3, we had to put O2 sensor extenders on it. So it's also pretty common in this truck. We're looking like we have to do one at least on the passenger side. So driver, maybe not. But that's an inspection cover installed. So that's going to work out good. But I mean, look at the clearance around where the starter goes. That's going to be nice. So let's go ahead. I think our next step, we'll get to fish the rest of our wiring through the little heat tube. I can't really show you, but the one where the bell housing bolts hold it up. So let me start weaseling that stuff through and we get that started around real quick. So we got our solenoid wire through. I gotta get the main battery cable on. So I'm hoping I can fish this bad unit up in there. They don't give you a ton of room. Okay. As long as we don't take a starter to the face, we'll be okay. But look at the factory battery cable fits right and everything, guys. You see what's on the core sport. friends, I think it's that time. I got everything plugged in underneath. Again, pretty straightforward stuff there. I zip tied everything up, so just so it's safe and out of harm's way. Let's go ahead and toss this battery in. So right now, we should be able to pressurize our fuel system and make sure we ain't got no leaks. Now, he did fill this thing up, so something to take into consideration with these trucks here, the later model ones. This one's a 2000, so when you get into, I think, 98 to 2000, when they went to a pulse width modulated gas gauge, you got to deal with that in a separate fashion. So I haven't dealt with a 2000 yet, but I know that you are supposed to change the tune to like a Chevy Express van. So basically, they're going to rework the tune. Rusty will have to deal with that to program the gas gauge to work for the truck. Other than that, everything else should just work. Now, I did go in and just turn off the anti-theft. I did not calibrate it for the flex fuel injectors. I didn't do anything. I just basically went in and turned VATs off because we know it's going to Rusty anyways. And yeah, so it still should be a safe enough tune to start. Yes, the injector information is different, but it should be good enough for what we're doing. And then, of course, we're going to start with open headers because why wouldn't you? And then I'm going to throw on, I got the air intake tube that was off Jeremy's truck and it has a mass airflow on it. This is not what we're using. Remember, we're waiting for our Hummer H3 one or H2 or whatever Brent ordered for us. So this is by all means not permanent. It's literally just to house the mass airflow and allow us to plug it in so we have it for our intake air temp sensor. So it's going to look glorious. The freaking shop is a disaster. I swear, every time you get into one of these projects, look at this. If you ain't got anxiety, look at this for a few minutes and it'll change your whole outlook on life. It's horrible. I'm looking for, well, I need to find a flashlight that's not dead. And basically, we're going to do a quick walkthrough with you guys and myself to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. So, coil packs are on. We got our sleeves on top of our coils. Our spark plug wires looks good. Headers are clearing. Everything is plugged in. I fixed the two, of course, fuel injector connectors that broke off. AC unit is on. There was one connector right there that is different than the harness. So the harness says AC fan cycling switch. We don't have electric fans, so maybe we have to change that. It's probably in the directions. If we run electric fans, maybe we'll deal with that. This is on the high side, so it's probably a high pressure switch that we probably don't need. So I'm sure the AC should still work. It did convert us over to a 3-wire coolant temp sensor. A 3-wire coolant temp sensor is common for these swaps. It's out of a 98 LS1 Camaro. That way you could use your 2 wires for the computer. One goes to the gauge. The computer fits in there pretty decent. They just kind of snap in and you pop the little snap clip over. All the wiring kind of tucks back under. I think it's ready to key on. Let me get the big light so we can really see and you guys can see what's going on. Make sure there's no fuel leaks because, yes, I'm running injector spacers, and these are the same ones that leaked on the S10. But I think I had the wrong O-ring, so hopefully everything's where it's supposed to be today. Key on. Let me know if you guys see anything, all right? So we're in park. The fuel pump kicked on. Hell yeah. Let me hit it again. You guys hear it? Please no leaks, please. Of course, gas gauge is dead, just like we thought it was gonna be. Unfortunately, like we said, it's one of those part of the deals, you gotta change it in the computer. If you get yourself a 96 or 97, they don't have that issue because they go straight from the gas gauge to the, the gas gauge up to the computer. So we just need to make sure there's no leaks. Let me get a better angle here on the other side. Of course, just like I thought, it never fails. These damn things are leaking already. Well, they are leaking, so I kind of figured, I've never had luck with those damn things, and they're the same leaking pieces of shit I got from before. So I don't know if it's not cut well enough, but we're gonna try starting it anyways, just for sakes. We need some satisfaction, and then we're gonna get a hold of Brent and see what we want to do, because we obviously need to get either different injectors or the right rails, because I know there is obviously rails for our flex fuel injectors. So we're gonna make that assessment, but let's see what happens. All right, you ready for this? Let's see if she at least cranks. pressure. Check engine light is flashing. That don't mean shit right now. We didn't delete anything, so just that. So hell yeah, guys. Well, friends, that's a win in my book. So she is alive. That's a freaking win. So as for the fuel leak, I did talk to Brent. I'm debating if we're gonna just change the fuel rails to the right flex fuel injector fuel rails. Out to Wayne's, they got one. Out to Wolverton Auto. Just debating if that's our next step. But at the moment here, we're gonna get this thing up in the air, go ahead and get that exhaust wrapped up. He did buy a crossover kit for the headers, and we're gonna see about that. Let me show you what we got there. And that way we can run it back to his factory exhaust. Oh yeah, see, there we go, look at that. All that 3-inch. So let's get her in the air, take a look at that exhaust, and see what we can do to get this thing quieted down, because after that, after the exhaust is done, the intake is done, she's heading to Rusty's. So we got this fine ride running, so let's see if this exhaust works. So Speed Engineering sells a crossover kit, like I kind of showed you earlier. Once we get out of the bubble wrap, 3-inch. I don't know how it goes yet. We're gonna figure that out together, folks. Basically, it should be all slip fit. Now that's gonna be pretty badass if that fits like that, because it must go under the trans pan, I'm assuming. Let me grab the other piece real fast. Yeah, it's not what it looks like. You were young once too. Because like I said, really, we're just trying to tie into the existing exhaust, and then eventually it's going to get a better flowing system. This is kind of just get her going, get it to Rusty to get it to the tuner, so, you know, obviously it can get dialed, and then hopefully the Pro Charger will be next year. Then we can really make some chooch with this old girl. All right. We got a shield in the way. Let me see here. See what's going on here. We're hitting the heat shield. Now I could probably bend that up out of the way. That's probably what I'll do to save it. That really looks like the only thing we're hitting. And then it's starting to get us on the right track. Now we did get a 3-inch to 2.5 Y right here, just to tie back into that old muffler. Something back here, a couple feet of 3-inch. Should be able to make it work. It's gonna sound glorious. Let's get to banging some heat shields. If I can find a good spot to pry against. Let's see if that was enough. Oh yeah, see, that's all we needed, friends. Look at that. Look at that air gap. So that actually fits pretty slick, I'm not gonna lie. You see it fitting good here. We got our slip fit, we got a connector there, and then we're obviously gonna put another clamp there. But what else we got? We got one more piece that came with it. Oh yeah, this would go to the factory exhaust, but we don't have this anymore, so I don't know what we're gonna do with this guy. Let's go ahead and send these guys home. They just never seem to tighten up tight enough. You ever run into that with these clamps? You just gotta blast them home with the impact and hopefully they seal, right? There we go, good and tight. So we're not using this back downstream O2 sensor, so I wanna be beyond that guy. Now, I don't know if I can get in there. We may have to go back here on the other side of the cross member. So let's see if we can get this all in there. Oh yeah, plenty of room. me that anymore. All right, let's get this one about the same place. So let's see if she fits. The day will come, my friends, I will have a bender, okay? And I will have a TIG welder and, you know, weld aluminum, stainless, and, you know, things are coming, all right? I promise you that, because I need it. I'm telling you what. Okay, so that is not gonna fit. Okay, the reason being is it would fit right in that muffler, but I'm thinking if I can get those pipes to come together a little bit, I want it up and over this cross member because we need to be high enough to go over this cross member. Your boy ain't got a pipe bender. We talked about this. So if not, I got a local shop that can do it for me. But ideally, this almost runs into here. I may have to, we're gonna call it oval the pipe there. But let's see if we can put a C-clamp on them, squeeze them together, and see if this will fit. So we need about 2 feet of pipe, all right? And we're gonna couple it together, weld it together, and just put it together overall. So right around here looks good to me. So you use your trusty measuring thumb and fish this out of here. You know what time it is? And you thought I was kidding. And it actually gives it a nice little recurve too, like a bow. Okay, are you seeing the big picture now? We got our shove back in there. We got our custom bent 3-inch. That's now like 2 3/4. I mean, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Then we got our coupler that's gonna go over here, which is one of, oh, what the hell is this thing? One of these dudes. Custom exhaust, friends. Sound bad, guys. Hear that hog ass cam? I think I got a little, might have a little leaky up by my my weld there, but we'll address that. But man, she does sound pretty freaking good, guys. I'm excited. He picked a hell of a cam for this thing, so you know what that means. Air intake time. Only the best quality for this build, of course, you know. Yeah, so we got this long black, I just air intake, all right? And then let's look at our filter. So this will adapt to our mass airflow sensor because this is off a Gen 3 LS. So 03 to 06 are on the same math. That'll all connect up like it's supposed to. We have this thing. Oh yeah. That's I think this stands for K&N. Yeah, that's what it is. So who would have thought half the hardware was missing? So we're gonna get a little creative here. We're gonna use this part of this portion of it anyways. We're gonna use the box, but the filter, of course, the adapter doesn't bolt to the mass airflow sensor. So You're about to watch some magic happen with some random parts. Well, she's out of the shop, friends. It's been a journey for sure, but she is all wrapped up other than a hot tune. I'm just saying. Woo! What do you guys think? The old air intake, it kind of works. We got to get a bigger filter and whatnot, but I'm just saying, guys, it went together pretty freaking sweet. What do you think? Don't sound too shabby out the old Flowmaster. Pretty freaking excited for this one. Rusty's gonna get her here soon, so get a nice fine tune on her. AC's working good, everything's doing what it's supposed to do. We are gonna get the other style covered, so I like it better, but this one here is what we had, but we wanted to get her covered up for you guys. But man, guys, that's a wrap for this project. The next time you see it, we're gonna be picking her up for Rusty after the Super Tune, and we'll take you for a ride. But on that note, make sure you like, subscribe, share all good stuff. We'll see you on the next one.